What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. Denver-Houston game. So Houston, if I'm not mistaken, still hasn't won a game on the road, and they really struggled in this game. I thought they were really sloppy defensively. They were botching switches right and left and missing rotations on the back end, which against a Denver team, you're just going to get absolutely killed when you do that. And for whatever reason, Houston hasn't been able to get their defense to travel on the road the way that it has been at home. But I want to focus on Denver in this particular game because, Jamal Murray was back. Aaron Gordon's still out. They played a really tough schedule with this stretch where Jamal Murray was out. A lot of good opponents on the road. And so now you get Jamal back, you come home, and suddenly things turn around, right? So I don't really overemphasize or focus on that stretch there where they were, because they were 6-1 to start the season with Jamal, and then they went 6-5 after that. And I mostly attribute that to just down your second best player, really tough schedule with a lot of road games against really good teams. But they looked just as unguardable as ever last night. Without Aaron Gordon, by the way, Justin Holiday filling in for him in the starting lineup. And I was talking yesterday with the Nerd Sesh guys, and they asked me, they were like, do you think that Nikola Jokic is the most unguardable offensive player in the history of the NBA? And I said, I can only speak from my personal experience in the sense that, as someone who's had to root against both Steph and Nikola Jokic, obviously LeBron, I'm biased, but having had to root against Steph and Nikola Jokic, I felt more helpless as a fan rooting against Nikola Jokic than I did against Steph. And that, to me, there was an inevitability to the Nikola Jokic experience that was straight up painful to watch. And even LeBron, who I think at his peak was a better player than Nikola Jokic, but it came from every other area of the game just because of what he could do as an athlete. Even LeBron James at his absolute peak, I don't think had the inevitable nature of offensive success that Nikola Jokic has. And that makes him, in my opinion, the most unguardable offensive player of all time. But I don't want to talk about Jokic today because we talked about that. We did a deep dive about that with the Nerd Sesh guys. Again, go to their YouTube channel, and we did an hour and a half on a bunch of stuff, but we talked Jokic for a while. I was texting with Carson this morning because I think that the Denver starting lineup is the most perfect basketball lineup ever built. And to emphasize this, I asked Carson this morning, I said, if you had to take one player away from that starting lineup, like a season-ending injury, that would maintain the Nuggets as the championship favorite, who would it be? And the problem is it's a really, really tough question because Aaron Gordon is vitally important for a bunch of reasons. Took several high-leverage defensive assignments last year, from LeBron James to Kevin Durant to Jimmy Butler, and did an excellent job in literally every single matchup. And on the offensive end of the floor, the work he does out of the dunker spot, just in general as a high IQ offensive player, his vertical spacing is vitally important with how much Nikola Jokic actually operates away from the basket, right? So it's you can't do Aaron Gordon. So what about Michael Porter Jr.? Well, he's an outstanding rebounder. Averages, 8 rebounds a game this year. A career high 1.8 offensive rebounds per game. He's been super active on the offensive glass this season. Just torching teams off the ball. Every single time the Rockets missed a switch last night, he knocked down the shot. It's something crazy. I put the number on my Twitter feed, but a unguarded catch and shoot Michael Porter Jr. jump shot has been worth over 1.5 points. Any spot up possession at all for Michael Porter Jr. has been worth 1.28 points, which is off the charts good. And then he's been a really good help defender for them. So it's he's the guy when you double Jokic who's making every damn shot. He's the guy who's helping you on the glass, helping you in help side defense. I'm not sure you can replace his value with anybody else on that roster. And then it's okay, what about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope? Well, he's your best perimeter guard defender. He's the guy who's going to guard a Devin Booker. He's the guy who's going to guard a Steph Curry. He's the guy who's going to guard an Austin Reeves or whoever it is that you're going to face in these late round playoff series in the Western Conference. And the drop-off offensively from someone like him to Christian Brown is pretty significant. And this is not, I'm not trying to diminish Jokic in any way, shape, or form. That's not the purpose of this discussion. I'm really just shouting out the Nuggets in general and the job they've done building this particular lineup. Because when you combine the synergy between Jokic and Murray as a two-man game, and obviously we've talked all about everything that Jokic does. Jamal Murray, I ranked him as a top 15 player in the NBA. I think I've had him at 16 if I remember correctly. But I think that he played at a star level in the NBA playoffs last year. I think he's going to make an all-star team this year if he can stay healthy long enough. Like, Jamal Murray's awesome. But it's not just those two. It is perfect complementary pieces. The Nuggets have been an excellent defense this year, in large part because they're anchored by two excellent defensive players in Aaron Gordon and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And you're getting the excellent help side defense from Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. and KCP are so vitally important to their backside spacing. Aaron Gordon is so vitally important in terms of his vertical spacing. I'm actually really curious if anybody has an alternative opinion. And I'd like to see those in the YouTube comments. Maybe we can hit them in a mailbag question later on this week. But like, can anybody think of a 5-man grouping that more perfectly complements each other on both ends of the floor than the Denver Nuggets? That lineup, Jokic, Murray, Porter Jr., KCP, and Gordon, had a plus 10 net rating in the playoffs last year, which is insane. Absolutely insane. Playoff basketball against an outstanding Timberwolves team that I've been high on for a while and who was a top tier contender this year, against a Phoenix Suns team who was more limited last year than they are this year, and a Lakers team that's more limited last year than they are this year, but two very, very good teams led by very, very good players, and then the best coach in basketball in the Miami Heat in Eric Spoelstra. And they outscored those groups by 10 points per 100 possessions. It's insane. That same group outscored opponents by 13 points per 100 possessions in the regular season, and only a slight drop-off against the higher level competition of the playoffs. That's the thing, is like, obviously any contender suffers a significant injury, they drop down a level. So this is not a unique problem to Denver. But I don't think there's a single guy in that starting lineup that you can sacrifice and maintain Denver as the championship favorite. But it's because of the synergy of that group that I do view Denver as the championship favorite. They don't have the top-tier talent that Boston has. They don't have the top-tier talent that, like Damian Lillard's a better player than Jamal Murray. I hate to break it to you. But, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the synergy of that group, that's what I love about basketball. Shout out Mark Titus. Basketball's more art than science, right? But because basketball is more art than science, it's not about adding up the talent. It's about the synergy of the group. And I can't remember ever seeing a 5-man grouping have better synergy than that Denver Nuggets lineup.